And we're live! Hi!
Happy Wednesday evening! Welcome to Happy Hour. What's everyone drinking?
Hey, I'd be drinking wine, but
I'm not drinking anything. Oh, I know. You do.
I'm not supposed
way
to. Oh, you have a
better.
Moscow Mule?
I do. Yep. Sometimes on our Wednesdays, that's when we do our beverage of choice. It's Happy Hour.
I love it.
So we are here. With Patricia, but we have a few things. So we have a lot of members joined recently. So we're gonna reintroduce ourselves again. So I'm Denise, and I am an applied functional medicine health coach, and she is Kira, and she is a functional nutritionist. So hi, Diane.
Together, we help women with things like depression.
Yes, we do. Sorry, I totally was like, what?
And this is like, I don't remember what we do. We help women with anxiety and depression through diet and lifestyle changes.
That's what we do. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we want to remind you again, if you're high, say hi to us. So Diane said hi. And let us know what you're drinking. If you're watching replay, please write replay, so we thank you for watching. We want to remind you to register for the Fall into Health Week. Yes. Kira and I are hosting this online event completely free, and it's starting on November 5th to November 9th, where November 9th, every day we're going to have a speaker, and we're going to have different topics around health. So on Tuesday, November 5th, we're having a talk about intermittent fasting and how it relates to your health. And
a lot of questions about that. A lot of people want to know about fasting.
Ooh, okay. So make sure that you register. It's really important to register. Even though the event is happening in the group, the replays will not be available in the group. They are coming down right away, and they're going to be sent to you via email. So make sure that you do that. And the link is in the description of the video. Tuesday on the 6th, we're talking about quit stressing about food, because we all stress about food, right? I'm guilty, right? And on Thursday, November 7th, we're having a talk on emotional EQ. Do you want to elaborate on that a little? Because that's the only one that's like,
Yeah, so emotional intelligence is like the title of his talk, but he's talking about emotions and how people suppress emotions. It's not healthy. And it's Timothy Gay. We've had him on before, guys. And we loved it.
Awesome. He is awesome, yes. And on Friday, we are talking about sex and how, spicing up that intimacy. Yes, let's do that. So we're also bringing a sex and marriage expert to talk about that and how you can improve your, sex and your intimacy in the bedroom. Too, because that's a form of self-care, right? And then on Saturday, we are having two talks. So we're having Abby talk about freedom from dieting, no more yo-yoing, ditching the diets. And then Kira and I are going to be talking about uncomplicate eating, because it is not, healthy eating is not rocket science. So it's really simple. Yeah. So make sure that you register, and that's it. So on to you, Patricia and Kira.
We have Patricia. Will you introduce yourself to the group?
I will. I can do that. Okay. Hey, everybody. So glad to be here. I am Patricia Love, the Rah Rah Coach, and I am a motivational and accountability coach and neurolinguistics practitioner, which is basically an NLP, they call it for short, because it's way too long to say. And I flip women's inner script. And what do? Is I turn their internal dialogue into a positive conversation. And a lot of it is I help the women break through the ceiling, which says sabotage their pocketbook in a lot of ways, and sabotage their life that they really deserve. So I always say words matter. So that's me in a little nutshell.
We're so excited that you're here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, yeah. Tell us what this inner script is. What is inner script? What's self-talk? Because I know some people are like, what are you talking about? I don't talk to myself.
I'm not crazy.
Maybe you do.
Surprised how much you talk to yourself. Actually, self-talk is, it's mostly, the thing is, you want to make sure it's good self-talk you're talking to yourself. But unfortunately, there's a ton of negative self-talk. And you don't even realize you're doing it. You have like your inner script or your dialogue inside is basically on autopilot in most cases. It's basically from childhood, from the schoolyard, from all these things that people have said to you, like, oh, you're like, maybe when you were 5, they said, oh, you're so ugly and fat. And you just you kept that in there, like, oh, I'm so ugly and fat, and I'm so ugly and fat. Pretty soon, it goes into the subconscious, and then the subconscious does not know the difference between right, wrong, or the truth or not truth. It just figures it must be true. So you constantly are saying that to yourself. So when you grow up, you have a tendency to think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not pretty, or whatever. But that's just one thing. I mean, you hear negativity from many, many people. And the biggest problem is it is on autopilot. And sometimes when you surround yourself with negative people, it just enforces it. So that's the basis of self-talk. And we all have it. And the whole idea is to flip that inner negative self-talk into a positive conversation, because what it's really doing to women, especially, as I basically work with women, is that it actually can cause diseases because you have negativity. It's bad for your health. It's bad in relationships. On Friday the sex in the bedroom, I mean, it's all kinds of. It really is. It affects you in many, many ways. When somebody said you weren't good enough for certain things, it becomes very, very unhealthy, and it also stops you from advancing in careers. It actually stops you from making more money, because a lot of times we grow up with a negative concept of money. So there's so much that it does to you, and women especially just don't realize it. They're on a hamster wheel.
Yeah. Would you say that negative self-talk can also like, I know you said it can cause disease, but like, let's say someone grew up with a symptom, or I'm going to use Denise as an example. Maybe you dealt with chronic headaches for years, or you just dealt with fatigue or whatever. And that's always in your head. That's what you resonate with. Would you say that furthers that disease process?
Absolutely. If like if people say I'm prone to headaches, they eventually will just get more headaches, because you self-sabotage yourself. I mean, it's kind of like saying, I'm so fat. You're going to say that in most cases you just stay that way, or or you eat more, because you're just saying that. So you're not saying the right and correct positive words to yourself. And so it's an affliction. It really isn't. It's almost, I would say it's an addiction, because self-talk, negative talk, is really something that's just became habit forming.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think, well, I know I'm pretty positive. I'm happy. But when you're home at night and you're alone, and there's all that negative stuff that pops up into your brain, and like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy enough, or you compare yourself to other people. So many, many different things actually pop up. So yes, you can make yourself
guilty of it, and we're all guilty of it. We are all guilty of it.
No, I mean, I'm a rah-rah coach, and I'm guilty of it. Honestly, but it's something that you have to become aware of.
Yes.
Because if you don't start becoming aware of it, or just acknowledging it, okay, yes, I do. Or like I tell people, just listen to yourself for one day, or even a half a day, or an hour. You'll be so surprised at the negative things that come into your mind. I mean, there's how many times you say, I'm such an idiot.
I used to say it a lot.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, well, that's great. But so that's not your affliction. But a lot of people say, I'm such an idiot. And it's really because maybe they were working on something and they can't fix it, or they can't add something up, or because they just don't have the knowledge of it, basically. And so they say, I'm such an idiot, I can never learn this. Well, they probably never will. But you'd be better off to say, you know what, I'm not understanding this quite now, but I will. It's just how you got to rephrase, you got to flip your script, basically. Yeah. And by acknowledging what you're saying and starting to listen to yourself, you really start to see like, oh my God, I'm a lot more negative than I think I am.
So do you recommend people spend a day or a few hours jotting down their thinking?
Absolutely. And yes, a lot of people don't want to take the time, but what I always try to tell people is like, hey, do you want to, because here's the thing, most people want to make more money. Most people want to advance in their career. Most people want to, they want to be slimmer. They want to be more healthy, but they're not willing to do anything about it sometimes. So it's no different than changing your eating habits or anything like that. You have to make the decision. I'm going to become more positive and I'm going to write these things down. And then you then create habits. So then the more you acknowledge it and the more consistent you are in acknowledging the positivity and reinforcing that, you become, instead of 80 negativity, 20 positive, it starts going the other way. You got to go with the 80-20 rule because, there's always going to be time that you feel a little negative. I mean, we are human. Mm-hmm. But if you can become positive 80% of the time, you will see that, like you say, I am smart enough and I do have the capabilities. I can learn this. Or even the word choose. I use the word choose a lot rather than like saying, oh, I don't want to drink or I can't drink or people, then the peer pressure comes in and then I rather just say, I just choose not to drink tonight. And most people don't say anything to me.
Yep.
Like, okay, that's your choice then. Exactly. So it's all about the words you say to yourself and learning how to say that and listening to yourself, which is what we all need to do, right? We need to really become more aware instead of being on the hamster wheel on a regular basis. We just need to kind of try and step off. And it's no different than what you guys do. You're trying to, helping people to like have a different lifestyle.
Yeah. And a lot of that, I mean, we've learned is mindset. So I'm going to throw in a random question here, and we don't have to go way down on a tangent, but for those that are not familiar with some other mindset, subconscious mind, would you briefly tell us how like when you say the subconscious mind doesn't notice the difference between real and imagined? So like if I say, I always have digestive issues, how does that actually manifest as digestive issues?
Well, basically our minds are like computers. And they remember. So they remember exactly what you say. So to really keep it simple, the more you say this to yourself, the more it becomes ingrained in your computer brain, in the neurons and all the little wirings, and then you have to then reboot it, you basically. Yeah. So I mean that's the easiest way to say it, without going down into a of physics and everything else and mindset and all that. Yeah. Really, people don't realize that. I mean, our brains are really computer-like, and they take on anything, but you can reboot them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Denise and I get that concept, but for so many people, they're like, but if I'm thinking it, how is it going to become my reality? But it does.
It becomes reality because you don't know any different, because your mind doesn't know any different.
Right. And also, it's like it also affects us at the cellular level because your cells are listening to that talk and they are executing. So
yeah, exactly. And I know people don't, always want to get into the biology of everything, but there is a lot of biology involved in all of this. Yeah. But it really is simplifying it. Is just that it remembers, and it's because it's been said to you so many times, or you've said it to yourself so many times. Sometimes we don't think we say things that much. Oh, I don't say it. How many times you say, "Oh, I don't say that"?
Isn't that like that?
Well, then you get some tape recorder and you hear like all the you say, or all the different things. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you realize, oh my God, I do say that a lot.
Yeah.
And
it's just if you aware of it, unaware.
There is like that rice experiment. Have you heard of it? Where like you have cooked rice, and then you have I think it was an experiment that was done where you talk to the rice very negatively, like I hate you, you're horrible, or whatever, and then to the other cup you're like, I love you, you're amazing, you're beautiful, and then the one that is it's cooked rice, and the one that you talk negatively to rot faster. And it's the same with the plants.
Right.
Like when you talk to plants, Yeah, look
Same
it
thing
up,
with the
Kira.
plant.
It's legit,
Yes.
and they do the same with plants. And I know I
Yeah.
studied this at IIN, but yeah, plants listen to you, and if you talk nicely to them and you touch them, they grow. But when you don't take care of them, they don't. So
Well, that would be a great experiment for people because I think they really need to try that. As much as I hate to hurt any kind of plant or anything like that, but I think it only takes about a week.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly,
Yeah.
and it's just really, you take the one plant and you put it one end of the house so the other one doesn't hear you, right? But and talk really nice. I love you. You're beautiful. You grow. That thing will grow. The other one will wilt.
yeah,
By saying negative things.
Yeah. And that's so important to remember for women in this group too that are dealing with chronic issues, whether it is anxiety, depression, anything. So we know we have a wide variety. When you're constantly saying, I feel terrible, I'm always going to feel like this, I'm not worthy of feeling better, you just
stay. I mean, you just stay. And I think also it really is creating habits and really creating consistency. And I think that sometimes is the hardest thing. And sometimes I think sometimes it's too simple, for people to realize. It's like, well, that's just too simple. I'll remember that. I don't need to, redo that again in my head. It's like eating habits or learning to eat properly. As soon as you start being consistent at it, it becomes very natural, right? I stopped eating sugar I eat a little bit of sugar, but not very much because I just don't like the way it makes me feel. And every time I have any now, it makes me have a headache, so that it reminds me again, you shouldn't have had the sugar, but it becomes a natural thing and I don't really crave it anymore. I don't want it anymore. And the same thing with your inner script or your inner dialogue. Because it becomes chronic if you're not aware of it, but it becomes very simple. And it's almost too simple that people think all I have to do is say positive things to myself. And believe it or not, 70% of it is yes. I mean, there's always another 30%, and maybe we got to get rid of some baggage here and there, type of stuff, because there's always that. But it really, really starts with what you're saying to yourself, and you can see a difference within a week or even in a day of how you're feeling just by saying positive things to yourself. You even feel better, because if you think about it, when you say negative things to yourself, they don't even feel that great. It's like, oh, I'm an idiot. Well, even the deflection of your voice, it's like, I'm an idiot. You kind of like, whereas if you say, I feel good, you kind of sit up. And, so it's really amazing if you could just do it for a day. You start to see and feel the difference. And then you want to keep doing it.
And I read, I think it was in Marie's book or one of her exercises, but it was that it is important to address yourself by your name. Like, for example, Denise, you are so good at, writing emails. Or Denise, you can do this. You're so amazing, or whatever. Like, addressing yourself by your name. So that's something to do with brain. I don't know. I don't remember.
It is. I mean, it's just acknowledgement. It's a complete acknowledgement, because, again, they don't know who your mouth doesn't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
You're just talking. So, but if you have a name and you actually say, hey, 'cause I do this all the time. I'm like, oh, Patricia, let's have a discussion, because I catch myself saying a negative thing sometimes. And I'm like, Patricia, let's rephrase that, Patricia, and I do. So it's, for some people, it might be a little weird, but it's not only weird for a little bit. And then after that, it becomes normal, right? It's like,
you're doing it. You're not doing it in front of people, so it's just weird.
Well, not normally.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if someone's
But
thinking,
you could, if that's,
oh, this is weird.
No, typically doing this stuff alone. I mean, the other thing is, it's really important to really look at yourself, not only calling yourself by name, but going into the bathroom, into the mirror. The first time I ever did that was probably about 30 years ago, when I actually looked at myself, straight in the eye. Not just putting lipstick on, not just combing my hair, because you're looking at yourself, but you're not really looking at yourself. But when you really just straighten your eyes and look at you and go, you are fabulous. Patricia, you are fabulous. I mean, you're actually looking at yourself, telling yourself this. So
can I ask you a question, Patricia? Some people might say, oh, it is a little arrogant to say that to yourself. What would you say to that? I mean, I don't believe it, but someone watching
No,
might
and
say it's so
I
arrogant to
understand
say
that.
you're amazing or you're beautiful.
Yeah, and I understand that because when you say that, you kind of think that you're. It's like building confidence in yourself, and a lot of people think, well, if I get too confident, then I'm going to be too arrogant. You just keep that in check. You trust me. I call myself amazing all the time, but it's just to build me up. Now, if you don't want to use the amazing word, you can say I'm really great or I'm good. Anything than saying that I'm an idiot. So if it feels bad, I mean, sometimes it's a process.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to take baby steps, right? So maybe you've been feeling really uncomfortable about saying, I'm not that smart or something. You may say like, I'm smart. Don't have to say I'm very smart. I mean, just say I'm smart. I mean, it's going to build the confidence and build the script better in your brain. But I do understand, and trust me, if you start getting real arrogant, we'll have a chat. No.
Yeah. And I was gonna ask you, Patricia. So, like you said, it's a baby step. So you might say at the beginning, "I'm smart," but then you might build up your confidence so much. You're like, "What the heck, Denise? You're like very smart." Like
I'm awesome.
I am like amazing. So, and that will take away the arrogance. That whatever
it does take it
because you build it up little by little.
It's build it up little by little, and and you will start feeling it. And then I think in a lot of us, we actually know. I mean, there's been times where I'm like gotten so like on a high that it's like, oh, I better watch myself there. It might be a little bit much for people, but that's called awareness.
Yeah.
So the more you talk to yourself, the more you build yourself up, and the more aware you are about who you are inside, you don't have to worry about arrogance anymore, honestly, because it actually, you become like, this is me, and I love me, and it's okay to love me for who I am.
Yes.
And so that's not arrogance. People can take it to a different level, and there's always going to be different types of people. But again, the more you're aware of how you're saying and what you're doing, you're going to be able to, and the confidence building, you're going to be able to say to yourself, instead of like, oh, that guy is that person thinks I'm arrogant, to say, well, you know what? They just really don't know my story. Or, I don't really know their story.
Right.
So, you just start looking at things. You start flipping, like I said, your script in a different way. And it's amazing. It works in all areas of your life when you're speaking to people and also when you're talking to yourself.
Love it.
Sure. Well, any words of wisdom for those getting started? Like, let's say someone in our group struggles with anxiety, emotional eating, a whole host of things, and they're realizing, I have a really negative inner script. How do you get started flipping?
Well, the first thing I would say is take 3 minutes, stop, and I don't like to use meditation because that word meditation makes everybody freak out, like they got to like meditate for like an hour and a half, with their hands up in the thing. It's really, I call it quietation, and it's just really quiet yourself down and listen to yourself. So take the time, 1 minute a day. If you've got children, go into the bathroom. I mean, sometimes they come in, but sometimes you lock the door because there's certain times that just you lock yourself in, right? Even if for a minute, you're just quiet. You're going to start hearing yourself. And then if you're feeling really negative, you just have to think of one positive line, and it's just like, I am good enough. I am positive. And those just really simple little things, affirmations. I say to choose one that you really resonate with, and you can go online and find affirmations everywhere. But some affirmations were going to resonate with you more than other ones. And I suggest that they just create and find an affirmation that works for them and say that before they go to bed, when they wake up, during the day, internally, I am good enough. Or if they feel like they're not smart, I am smart. And pretty soon they're like, you start building your confidence. So those are just the 2 things I would probably say, because I find if you give too much to people to do, It's
Oh.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I guess there'd be three things, but this is the easy part. Breathe. Take a big breath. Get away, quietation for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and create choose your own affirmation. They work, and then use that for a week. Then maybe do another affirmation. Take baby steps. You're going to feel a difference immediately if you start doing it.
I love that. They're
That's-
amazing practical tips that you can use
Yeah.
like right now. Like
Yeah, you can use those every day. You could start using these right this minute. You know,
And anything. I mean, even people that struggle with binge eating, you know, like little things like that. Like, I can stop this cycle or whatever they would, you know.
As long
Well,
as they
yeah,
keep it positive, right? Like you want to keep it positive.
you just want to keep it positive, but the other thing I want people to, and you I'm sure say this all the time, and we talk about it all the time, is really is baby steps. Just take 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, and then congratulate yourself. Oh my God, I did it for an hour. I said a positive word to myself. Yay! I do that all the time. I'm always celebrating myself because it builds confidence, and when the more confidence you build, and the more care you have about yourself, because it is self-care, guys, as we know. It's just caring for who you are, which if you don't, then you're not good for anybody.
Well, Kira and I have said this before. Like, you can get healthy and eat all the healthy food and get better and everything. But then if you don't change that dialogue, if you keep negative, you're gonna go.
Well, then you're
back.
just
Like,
fighting
your
it. Yeah,
mind
you're
Yeah.
constantly fighting it. Then you yo-yo.
Yeah, so your mind can create the disease again. Yeah.
Absolutely. It all works together. And it's just creating a different lifestyle, or creating creating a new path, you might say, because I don't want to go back to that old path, so I want it to become a normal, automatic, autopilot feeling that, that I get up and feel good in the morning, that I eat well in the morning, so I feel healthy. So yeah, it's a process, I know, but baby steps.
Yeah. Any other
Right.
questions,
Well, any-
Kira, or any?
I don't know. If anybody have questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I was going to see. I haven't checked the group to see if there were any
No
questions.
but Diane really
Okay.
loved the analogy of the computer rebooting, because it's, what you said, to reboot the computer, so you reboot your mind with positive talk.
Right. Exactly. And in this day and age, people can understand that.
Yeah.
When you start going to quantum physics and different weird things, it doesn't work. Even though I love those. You and I could probably go pretty deep, Denise and Kira.
Yeah, oh, I'm
Behind
sure
the
we could.
scenes,
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, if you are watching replay and you have questions, please make sure to put them in the comments, and we'll definitely, address them as we see them. So don't forget.
And Patricia, how can people find you?
They can find me in two places, patricialove.com. They can go to my website, or my group, Words Matter Movement, on Facebook.
Okay. Denise is putting those in the comments.
Ah.
And then last fun thing, tell everyone where you're living, because I love this.
Oh, I know.
See,
She's
you can't tell?
awesome.
Okay, so I live on a boat. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I live on a boat on the what we call the Sound, which is salt water. So I have my curtains down right now, and it's dark, so you can't see. But there's like boats all around me, and so it's basically living on a condo on a lake, in a tiny house. I guess I live in a tiny house.
That's awesome.
I
But
love
I'm here in Seattle because I do a lot of traveling, and so I just like to have some place to go when I'm here. And then I have other places I have also.
I'm gonna copy
Yeah,
that.
I love that.
I love the boat, though. And my cat's here. No, it's all good.
So awesome.
Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And it was
Oh,
super.
you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Oh no.
Bye,
Next
guys.
week.
Thank you.
Are we doing it next week? Are we going live next week, Kira?
Yeah.
Huh?
TBD. Maybe Tuesday. Because Wednesday I fly out.
Right. That's what. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.